If you've ever walked into a home and thought, oh my gosh, I love it, but it needs so much work, and immediately felt overwhelmed, you're not alone. For a lot of buyers, the idea of renovations is what stops them from moving forward, and it's not the house itself. I want to walk you through today how to think about renovations in a way that feels manageable and realistic and far less stressful. Hi, I'm Emily, a North Shore Chicago realtor, and I help buyers evaluate homes that need updates all the time. I'm in the middle of a home renovation myself, actually. Today, I'm pulling back the curtain and telling you exactly how I guide my clients through this process. Okay, so why do renovations feel so overwhelming? I'm going to tell you. Most renovation stress doesn't come from the work itself. It comes from uncertainty. And when you don't know how much things cost or how long they'll take or even where to start, add in the horror stories you might find online, it's easy to feel like buying a home that needs updates is a huge mistake and can be a complete overwhelm nightmare. But the reality is, most renovations can be very doable when you break them down into the clear steps I'm going to show you here. One of the first things I tell my clients to do, even when they're online looking, is to walk around with a notebook. So maybe you've seen the place online, you're deciding if it's going to be a good idea or not for you to even go look at it. Look at the photos and just jot down some things that immediately stick out to you. Say you go see the place, walk through the front door with that notebook and write down every single little thing, big or small, that you would want done to that property. Whether it's changing things out, repairs, updates, just anything, even the small stuff. Paint, lighting, flooring, a new bathroom, a new kitchen, new trim work, all of it. Then I want you to go home and estimate each line item of how much it might cost. Now, this doesn't have to be an exact cost, and I'm not saying to go out and get quotes for new flooring or new marble tile in the bathroom. No. I'm saying give a guesstimate of how much you think that might cost you, and then start to add that up. Now, when you are doing this, it's important to note what things are most immediate and what things can wait. So if you're somebody that is, I want everything done before I even move in, and if you've got the budget for that, amazing, fantastic, then figure that out. But for many of us, we are doing renovations in stages, and maybe you're not going to do the bathroom, 2 bathrooms, and kitchen renovation all at one time. Maybe it starts with the flooring before you move in, or a 1 powder bathroom on your main level. And then a year from now, after you move in, then you'll go on to the next bathroom. And then in the next year, you might do the next bathroom after that. So just a reminder, everything doesn't have to happen all at once, not right when you move in. So once you have those numbers on paper, it will already start to feel a little bit less intimidating. Just having a guideline, a ballpark, even a range of costs that might be ahead. If that looks great and you get an offer accepted, now it's time for an inspection. I always tell my clients to do an inspection, and specifically make sure you get an inspector that works on those types of homes that you're purchasing. For example, if you are buying a 100-year-old historic home, make sure you get an inspector that is very familiar with historic homes, and this will make a big difference. I promise you that. Now, an inspection report can easily be 100 pages, but don't panic just yet. That doesn't automatically mean that there's something wrong with the house. It literally is the inspector's job to be as thorough as possible and document every detail. So don't freak out just yet. This is where having an experienced broker is so important. Next, you're going to want to go through that report with your real estate broker, and they're going to advise you which items on the report are most important And specifically safety items are the ones that you really want to pay attention to. I like to also at this point break things down into 3 categories. Things that I'm willing to do myself, things that can be done by a handyman, and things that need a true licensed professional in order to, maybe it's a specialized project, like a plumber really needs to do that. Not a handyman, definitely not you. So break it into those 3 categories and then kind of go from there. When you start to break it down this way, that list starts to feel a lot more manageable. Now, you can start to decide on what you can do now versus what you can do later. As I mentioned, not everything needs to be done the moment you move in, and sometimes things happen. You think you're going to do a bathroom renovation, and all of a sudden your washer and dryer breaks that you thought was only 5 years old. Things happen, and you have to kind of roll with it. So make somewhat of a plan, but be okay with things ebbing and flowing. And I think if you have that mindset going in, it won't be such a stressor when the time comes. Something you'll also want to think about is whether or not you can live in the home while the renovation is being done. Now, something like refinishing hardwood floors, which I just did, I would always advise, if you can do that immediately when you move in or before you've moved all your furniture in, that's ideal. It's very dusty, very dirty, and obviously if you have furniture in the space, you have to move it all out, and then they do the work for, a week or however long it takes them, and then you gotta move it all back. So starting to think about things like that might help you in the long run. My whole situation was a long story. We were supposed to have it done before, but things happen, and here we are. Anyway, so I want you to think about your renovation as a phased approach. Think about things that have to do maybe before I move in. So maybe you have to do a radon mitigation system or refinishing hardwood floors. Maybe get those things really scheduled, teed up, so that way right when you sign that contract, the house is yours, you get those projects underway before you even get into the home. Now, then you kind of have a section of, we want them done immediately, but we can move in. Maybe that's a powder bathroom, but you have other bathrooms that you can use. It might be loud and dirty, and some people are coming in and out of your house, but you can actually easily still live there. And then have a list for a handyman. Generally, the way I like to tell people to do it is have always a running list for a handyman, even after renovations are done. And there's a lot of things that they can do, whether it's just swapping out light fixtures or hanging big things on walls like TVs and large mirrors or artwork, and just kind of smaller things that don't require necessarily a specialized licensed professional for that, and kind of go from there. Now, sometimes people are okay with painting themselves. I know it sort of depends on your ability level, how well you feel comfortable with it, but once you kind of have that phased approach, it will definitely feel much more manageable. Now, one thing I really want to stress is having a big picture mindset. And what I mean by that is the most successful buyers who plan to do renovations, they realize that it's not this all or nothing approach. It can be in phases, and it doesn't have to be on day one, every project is finished and it's perfect. That's just not how it works. So having this big picture approach really helps you just mentally prepare yourself that certain projects will take priority, and deciding where those priorities lie are going to play a big role in the overall home renovation. When you approach renovations on a step-by-step basis instead of emotionally, they often feel much less intimidating. If you're considering a home that needs updates and you're not sure if it's the right move, that's the exact conversations that I love having. So I help buyers throughout Chicago and the North Shore figure out what a renovation might look like and if it makes sense for them, what to prioritize, and how to approach it without feeling overwhelmed. If you have questions or you want to talk through a specific house, feel free to reach out. I have left my contact information below. And if you found this helpful, be sure to subscribe. I share videos all the time about renovations, also tips for buyers and sellers, and of course, just life here on Chicago's North Shore. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.